I'm Whitney.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Deb.
We're three best friends who love nerdy things.
Well, some people think we're nerdy, but we think we're pretty awesome.
This is Our Nerdiest Thing.
Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today, we are finishing our discussion of the third Crescent City book by Sarah J. Maas, House of Flame and Shadow. We'll be talking about chapters 90 through 102, the end of the book. This podcast episode is spoiler heavy, not just for House of Flame and Shadow, but for all of Sarah J. Maas's books and series. So please listen at your own risk. Deb, will you please share our nerdiest cocktail?
Whitney, I will.
Thank you.
Tonight's drink is named Memento Mori, and it's themed after dying or almost dying.
Dying question mark?
Question mark. This drink pairs well with black holes, kill switches, and unlikely heroes, and it may cause you to sacrifice yourself for the greater good.
Aww.
Boo.
Yeah.
It tastes like a root beer float. And it's
It
really
does.
good.
Yeah.
And I want like 20 of them.
Yeah, it really does.
So good. You know what it needs? It needs ice cream in it. Like that shit.
I know.
It needs ice cream in it. It would be so good.
Yeah, put it like,
ruined
over
it.
the top.
No,
You blew it.
It's really good. Thank you, Mindy.
Thank you so much, Mindy, for the cocktail. Thank you so much, Deb, for the description of the cocktail.
Thank you, Whitney, for thanking us both for the things that we do every week on this podcast.
You're so welcome, guys. Well,
This is the person that walked into the fucking baby shower we threw her. Walked in to come to the baby shower with thank you notes and gifts for her hand. I was like, God, I can't fucking live up to this. God. I still have my gift from you, by the way. You got me little snowflake wine corks.
I still have the Harry Potter style banner and
You do?
and
I love
the
that.
little framed thing that has Liam's name on it. The Quidditch thing.
You
love
made those,
that.
didn't you?
They're
I
up in
think I
his.
did.
They're up in his room. Yeah.
That's really
Aw.
sweet.
Well, I'm going to bring us down probably because it's time for the Nerdy and Dirty recap where one of us has 30 seconds to tell us what happened in this section.
Oh, yeah. It's you, Whitney.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know what? I left my notebook at home. So I don't have
This is going to
any
be
of my
fun.
So we're just gonna go with it. And this was already gonna suck, let's be honest,
Right.
because how do you
It's
try
only
to...
12 chapters.
I know. Well, and it's a Sarah J. Maas book.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like, let's do the last 100 pages where 50,000 things happen. Like, okay, cool. So we're just gonna
I'll
go
be
with
interested to see what stood out for you.
it. I mean... we'll see.
I'm excited for this.
I am getting my 30-second timer ready, and here we go. Okay. So Bryce uses the bullet that Connor gave to Ethan to blow up the first light core, and Apollyon kills one of the Asteri, and Bryce also kills one of the Asteri. And the first light core blowing up, oh my gosh, the first light core blowing up creates a black hole that's going to kill the whole planet, and Bryce defeats everybody, and then Lydia's awesome. And that's the end of the book.
Well, I'm glad we have about an hour. I'm glad we have about an hour to discuss this because a few other things happened. Just a few.
I looked down and it said 12 seconds left, and I was like, oh no.
And that was after you said first light core 5 times.
That was an important part.
Yes, but it only happened once.
Oh man.
You did a really good job, especially for not having your notes. Seriously.
The book ended and the end.
The end.
Oh gosh. Well, let's just keep on going.
Well, I want to
Keep on moving.
I want to know then if your favorite moment or twist was a part of your 30-second recap.
Well, actually, technically it was because I said Lydia was awesome. So my favorite moment is when Lydia breathes fire onto Pollux and turns him into like a tower of ash. Which
It reminded me of Interview of the Vampire whenever Lestat dies and he turns into ash.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
I thought about Voldemort at the end of the
yeah.
Deathly Hallows movie where he just kind of blows away in the wind. I enjoyed that a lot.
There's our age difference.
And I realized when I was reading the scene, I realized that when we were talking about book 2, when we talked about that scene where Lidia goes to get her burner phone that she's using for the Ophion spying.
But she hides in the tampon box.
She hides it in her tampon box that, because Pollux won't go near it. And I talked about how I didn't know how strong Lidia was, that she could crush a phone into dust. And now I'm like, oh, she burned it into ash, which is why it was like small dust particles. And that was a light bulb moment. It was a light bulb moment for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't have caught that either.
Good job, Whitney.
Yeah. So Lidia was awesome. And Pollux is a piece of shit. So that was my favorite moment.
My favorite moment kind of goes with yours too. My favorite moment was just seeing everyone come into their full power. So Lidia has crazy cool firepower. Hunt can harness lightning and manipulate the weather.
Yeah.
Bryce has her full star power, of course. Rune has full Shadow Daddy magic.
Yeah.
Therion can manipulate all water, which is insane. He can make a whole wave come down a hallway and then put a bubble around you to protect you. And then Ethan becomes the alpha of the pack and has ice powers.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see where these powers go moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I loved that.
Hopefully in upcoming Crescent City books, because Sarah J. Maas has said she's writing at least one more in this world. I'm hopeful that everybody either gets an antidote all the time or somehow the parasite has been eradicated so that they're at full power all the time.
So I'm just going to ask this question now. I was going to save it talking about moving forward because in the book, when the first light goes out, they don't have power.
Correct.
Right? Lidia all of a sudden has this crazy firepower. She's blonde and blue-eyed. I'm starting to wonder if Crescent City is before Throne of Glass World. Is she the ancestor of Aelin? Winnie's like, no, that can't be right.
No, Lidia is the ancestor of...
Not an ancestor.
What is she?
She's a descendant.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Oh, so we do know Throne of Glass.
Is that not the same thing?
Well, ancestor means you come first. Descendant means you come
oops.
second.
I was lumping them all together.
I was like,
wait, did I read that wrong? Because I was so excited because I was right.
How do we know she's a descendant of Aelin?
Well, let me just tell you, because this is my deep dive.
That was one of my biggest revelations.
This is my deep dive. Okay, so
sorry, we'll get back to your favorite moment.
I'm going to jump. Babe. I'll just jump ahead because this is my biggest revelation and also my deep dive. So Lidia is a descendant of Aelin Galathinius. Aelin, Ashriver, Whitethorn, Galathinius.
Selena, and all these people.
And more closely from Brannon.
Not more closely. I'm going to tell you.
Okay, so I missed that. Okay.
So here we go. Lidia is a Galathinius, which means that she is tied to the Throne of Glass world, which we kind of already knew. We just didn't put two and two together. We didn't put two and two together. We already knew that the shifters are also Fae. We learned that from Ethan. We learned that from Danica. We know that the shifter Fae came from the Throne of Glass world, which we talked about either last episode or the one before that when the Underking said, I'm from the same world as you, where the power was the word or whatever. And we were like, oh, well, that has to be Throne of Glass, right? So Lidia is a shifter. Therefore, she is also a shifter Fae. Therefore, her people come from the Throne of Glass world, just like Ethan's do, just like the Underking did. So we know that first and foremost. I just didn't put that together until this section when she specifically talks about it. So here we go. She's got the firepower. Talks about naming one of her twins, Brannon, after an old Fae king from her bloodline. And so this is a quote from this section of the book. It confirmed what Lidia had long guessed, why she had named, this is talking about her power, her firepower getting so much more powerful after she takes the antidote. It confirmed what Lidia had long guessed, why she had named Brannon after the oldest legends from her family's bloodline, of a Fae king from another world, fire in his veins, who had created stags with the power of flame to be his sacred guards.
Was that Aelin's dad?
No.
Okay.
So Brannon, this was my deep dive. Who is Brannon? Throne of Glass? Like, how does this all fit together, right? So at first I thought, oh, she's got shifter power, so maybe she's related to Aedion and Lysandra, because Lysandra was a shifter and Aedion is related to Aelin too, right? But that is not correct. Aedion is Aelin's cousin, but not from the Galathinius side. So if we're taking Lidia literally at her word that she is from the line of Brannon, then that means that has to be Aelin's line, and here's why. So Brannon Galathinius was first a Fae bastard from Wendlin. which is where we first see Rowan in, what is it, Heir of Fire, or the book before that, Empire, whatever, but Crown of what are they called?
Crown
of Midnight. So we first meet Rowan and his band of merry men with Maeve in Wendlin. Brannon Galathinius is from that city, but from way before Aelin's time. Brannon fought with Maeve against the Valg, but then he hid the word keys from Maeve and became the first king of Terrasen. Brannon was mates with Mala Firebringer. And Mala is the goddess of the sun in Aurelia, which is the planet, the Throne of Glass world. So she's the goddess of the sun. And fun fact, Mala's sacred animals were sun stags who wield her immortal flame between their antlers. So this is where all this stag iconography comes from. All the fact that Lidia is a deer shifter is significant because it's connected to stags, which is connected to Brannon because it's connected to Mala. Okay. So Mala was a goddess, but she actually was bound in a human body so that she could be with Brannon because they were mates. Mala gave Brannon some of her fire magic, which she was able to give because she is a goddess. So she was bound into this human form and stayed with Brannon in that human form for the rest of their lives. And they had several children together. The only child that we actually know the name of is Aelin Galathinius, who is the first queen of Adarlan, and a character that we meet way back in book 1 of the Throne of Glass series called Throne of Glass. She marries her mate, Gavin Haviliard, and their children eventually lead to everybody's favorite princeling, Dorian. Right?
Oh.
So, Aelin Galathinius is related very distantly to Dorian, but also to Aelin, which I'm going to get to in just a second.
So Aelin kissed like her fourth cousin removed?
I think they're way more distant than that, but yes, they are 100% related because of Aelin Galathinius.
Cool.
So there's a very convoluted story about Mala Firebringer and Brannon Galathinius forging a lock to keep the Valg out of their world, and then Elena like screws it all up. But that is basically like the whole effing story of Throne of Glass. So like everybody just go read that book.
Yeah.
So it's a great series, but too much to tell you about here. So Elena's line leads to Dorian. Brannon's other children that we do not know the name of somehow lead to Aelin Galathinius. So we don't know the names of most of any of Brannon's descendants except for Elena. We don't know any of the descendants that lead to Aelin except for her parents. So we know that Aelin's mom is Evelyn Ashriver, and her dad is Ro Galathinius. Ro Galathinius is a descendant of Brannon, and Evelyn's family line, the Ashrivers, is the one that connects Aelin and Adian. Adian is an Ashriver. He is not a Galathinius. So my whole thinking that, well, maybe Lidia is related to Lysandra and Adian because Lysandra was a shifter can't be right because they are not related at all to Brannon. So if Lydia's family is talking about their ancestor Brannon, that has to be Aelin's line because she's the only Galathinius that's left once her parents get killed because she did not have any siblings, right? So that tells me that my favorite Crescent City blondie is a distant relative, a descendant to our favorite Throne of Glass blondie, Aelin.
I want someone to call Lidia a fire-breathing bitch queen.
I did in my notes. I did.
I love it.
Because that's literally what she does, right?
Right.
So we know from Lidia that her mother is a witch and her father is a powerful shifter. Lidia tells us that her father's line is the one with the stories about this fake king from another world, Brannon, and who she names one of her twins after. So, Lydia's...
And I want to reiterate that she and the Under King came from the same world.
Lydia's people, the Fae shifters. So, Lydia's people, Ethan's people, Danica's people, Sabine's people, like all of them would have all come from the Throne of Glass world at some point.
What about the Autumn King?
The Autumn King.
Doesn't he have stag stuff in him? Was it him?
That's
No, I'm sorry. Morven.
Morven's people are really Prithian people.
Okay.
But he does use a lot of the stag stuff.
Yeah, that's what threw me off.
We don't really get an explanation for that, but we do see Lidia say, like, he shouldn't be using the stags. He does it in injustice or something. Like he's
Gotcha.
basically like too crappy of a person to be able to use the stags.
Gotcha.
So I'm wondering if maybe somebody, I can't remember the dude's name, Peleus. I wonder if Peleus like took that from the other
Gotcha.
people from the Throne of Glass world.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. But yeah, Morven did have stags, but his people are from Prythian for sure.
Okay.
So Lydia's father is the one who is a descendant of the Galathinius line, which means Aelin had to have had children, who had to have had children, who had to have
yeah.
children, who had to have had
that
children.
makes me really happy.
Well,
Makes me happy too.
except that Lydia's dad is a piece of shit, which is going to come into one of my questions later on. But Aelin and Rowan had to have had at least one child who had at least one child, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually some of their descendants left Terrasen, left Aurelia for Midgard and willingly became slaves to these Asteri, just like the people from Prythian did. Right? So that kind of sucks. So the only, we see this not just in the description that we get of Lydia's family legends, but we get, her extremely powerful fire magic. We see Lydia taking the antidote and having power that we really only ever see from Aelin. And in these legends of Brannon having the fire power and Mala Firebringer having,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like she has that same type of power. We also see the description of her appearance sounds a lot like Aelin. She's got blonde hair and golden eyes. Aelin's Astraver eyes is a really big deal in the Throne of Glass world. A gold ring around turquoise. That gold is, I think, the Galathinius line, and
Yeah.
the turquoise is the Astraver part. We also see the Galathinius connection in Lydia's shifter form as a larger than average deer. And like you just mentioned, Morven using stags, the way that she specifically like talks about hating that. So Lydia is described in House of Sky and Breath, chapter 33, as being the spitting image of Luna, who is the Midgard goddess of the moon, and the deity that Crescent City itself is named after. They named Lunathion after Luna, right? So Luna in Midgard is supposed to be the sister to the sun god Solus. But if Lydia looks exactly like Luna, and Lydia also kind of looks like Aelin, and Lydia is a descendant of Brannon and the goddess Mala Firebringer, who was a goddess of the sun, I'm wondering if they twisted who these deities are in
Mala
Midgard.
and Luna are like the same person.
If maybe Mala and Luna are the same person, or maybe Mala and Solus are the same person, but they've got mixed up or something,
Yeah.
maybe on purpose, maybe not. But we do
Can't
know
you see the Asteri using a different name?
100%.
on purpose?
Oh, yeah.
100%, right? So it could also be Deanna from Aurelia. We learn this was kind of convoluted. So again,
Such an off the cuff name for this series.
I know,
Deanna.
right? Deanna.
It's like putting
So
Deborah in there.
this was like very convoluted. So you have to go read Throne of Glass to like understand this whole story. But essentially in Air of Fire, in that Throne of Glass series, we learn that Deanna was Mala Firebringer's sister in the moon. So there is a goddess of the moon in the Throne of Glass world that maybe
coincide
maybe
with.
that's Luna. I don't know. But I just thought that was interesting that she supposedly looks exactly like Luna when she is related to a goddess of the sun from one of the other worlds. So there's that. So all of that to say, Lydia is a descendant not just of Brannon Galathinius and Mala Firebringer, but also Aelin Astraver Whitethorn Galathinius herself. And Rowan.
And Roro.
And
So
Roro.
cool.
Yeah. And I have done all of the bonus chapters as deep dives up to this point, and there are 2 more bonus chapters. I'm just going to tell you what they're about, like not describing them, but and where you can find them. So there's 2 bonus chapters that take place after the end of House of Flame and Shadow. So one is a Barnes and Noble exclusive edition, and that focuses on Bryce and Hunt visiting her parents after the events of this book have ended. And then the other one is the last bonus chapter that is available from the Target exclusive edition of this book, and it focuses on Rune and Lydia having a date night.
Aw,
They're both
sweet.
they're both very sweet and like happy,
Yeah.
uplifting, where a lot of the other stuff has been like kind of dark and heavy.
Yeah.
But these are very sweet and definitely worth reading if you can get your hands on them. So yeah, that is my biggest revelation. And one of my favorite moments too, just Lydia. Lydia is a Galathinius. She is a descendant of Aelin, and I love it.
I want to point out that I kind of called that.
You did.
When I was talking about Bran and his name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's too close.
Yep.
That's
It
too
is.
close.
You're right.
Yeah, I actually put in my notes, hey, when Mindy talked about this.
I'm so proud of myself.
When I first read that, and it was like, that's why she named him Brannon after the old Fae King, and I was like,
I know that was definitely one of my biggest revelations as well. Going back to my favorite moment.
yes, your favorite moment.
Because it
Mindy.
also involves Lidia.
Of course, because she's the best.
Well, actually, I have two. The sweet one involves Lidia. It's when Actaeon calls her mom for the first time. I
That
just
was sweet.
I just felt that all aflutter in my heart. But then the funny one that I have, because this is just so Bryce ending the Fae monarchy using the Autumn King's favorite pen.
I know. I loved that.
That was just the icing on the cake for me.
I loved it too. And she was like, I know you guys don't want me to do this, but maybe if you hadn't given everybody complete power, you would have been able to stop me.
Yep.
Aw.
Sorry.
I feel so sad for you. I liked that a lot. What about our least favorite moments? I'm interested to hear. There were a lot of downers in this section of the book.
There is something that I felt like was so corny. And it was Shahar coming back in the mech suit to help.
Oh, really?
I loved that.
I love that too.
Okay,
That's funny.
it's because like I'm picturing like these wings like coming, like Hunt has to like scooch into the mech suit next to these like wings, and it felt like Sarah J. Maas was trying to provide closure for Hunt, but he already had it, and it just felt really irrelevant and kind of icky. Like, I'm gonna help you like save your mate. I just I did not like it.
That's
It like
funny.
ruined that part of the book.
She
for
was my
me.
favorite secondary character.
Hashtag not my favorite character. It just felt really corny the way it was described, and I didn't like it.
I can see that, but I actually loved that part, how she
liked
helped
it too.
him get to Bryce. Like, that to me, like, you know, she did love him at one point, you know, and to help him sort of realize where he was supposed to be with his mate was cool. But also, like, she finally got to see her mission completed in the end.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Thanks for making me feel dead inside.
But I can see why you would think that was a corny way to do it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And I felt like he was like past it already, and then like his eyes are full of tears and shit. And I'm like, hurry up, Bryce is floating away. God.
Feel your feelings later.
Yes.
This is not the time, Hunt.
Mindy, what was your least favorite moment?
Mine was actually when Ember says goodbye to Nesta, and then Nesta gets that pained look on her face because she never had a mom love her like that. And like you could tell she was going to miss Ember. I was just like, it was a sweet moment, but at the same time,
Hurts your heart.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like the bonus chapter I talked about last week where she gets a good hug and it's like she's never gotten, like you're
Right.
saying, she's never gotten one before, and Ember defends her, and it's like, oh, nobody's ever done that for me.
Yeah.
Well, and Ember tells her like, don't worry, you'll find your way. Like Nesta has found someone to like confide in.
Yeah.
I feel like,
Well, and someone to be her cheerleader too.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I liked in that part too how Bryce saw Hunt and Cassian together, and she's like, I could see why Nesta was into Cassian. I mean, they're very similar.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Right?
I like when they're both telling him they're alpha holes too.
Yeah, I love that. What was yours? Whit?
So my least favorite moment was a little bit of a journey. So I'm going to just read it to you because I started out with like, this is my least favorite. And then by the time I finished writing about it, I was like, maybe I'm wrong. So I'm just going to read you the journey that I had. So my least favorite moment is just Lidia forgiving Rune for shooting her so easily. Or at least that is how it plays out to me. I know it all works out in the end and he helps get her boys out while she was willing to sacrifice herself. But it felt like he didn't really have to do anything for her forgiveness for what I consider to be a pretty major issue. And I don't think he even ever officially apologized. But as I'm typing this out, I'm realizing that she told him she forgave him on her way out the door to die. In her mind, like she thought she was going on a suicide mission. And she was just grateful that the fire sprites helped save her and that they were actually successful, that maybe nothing else matters.
I mean,
You
yes,
know?
it's one of those things where it's like, we survived and maybe this doesn't matter. I think if
Right.
it had been different circumstances, she would have been like, nope, you're still an asshole.
Yeah,
I do think they maybe should go to therapy about this.
100%.
Absolutely.
I do wish, just like we talked about with Bryce, I appreciated that Bryce was like, I'm sorry, I'm being a bitch to you to Hunt. I wish that we had a moment where Rune was like, hey, I'm really sorry I shot you in the leg. And we don't have time for that in the crazy of everything. But I wish that we could have a moment where he's like, I totally understand why you were upset with me. Like, I get it. I'm really sorry that I did that. And we just don't get it. But I don't know. I felt like that was a pretty grievous act
for her to just be like, okay, I forgive you.
Yeah, she's like, that's fine. We're
just
alive.
because you said,
at least we're alive.
Just because you said you were gonna.
He did like take care of the boys the whole time.
Yeah,
though.
he did.
So he did redeem himself. But yes, I agree with you that it felt a little rushed.
Yes, and I guess that's just out of necessity. But I didn't love that. I'm curious to hear about your all's biggest revelation, because that was my whole deep dive.
Well, I already said that one of my main one was that I was like so excited that I knew that Brandon was named after Lydia's ancestor.
Yay.
Like I called that one. So that was really cool to be like validated on that. One of the big revelations for me was clearly one that was for you, since you mentioned it 5 times in your
the first light core. First light core.
that was the kill switch for the entirety of Midgard. Yeah. Which was like, holy shit. Like, okay. That sucks.
And then she's like, you know what? I'm going to put your kill switch inside a kill switch.
I know.
I really enjoyed that twist.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it felt
resolved too quickly.
Well, it just, I don't know. I struggle with some of the things that happen in this sequence of events because it felt so much like ACOTAR. The cauldron breaking and ACOTAR, like it, and I guess it was supposed to feel the same because
like history repeats itself.
Well, because the Asteri told us that the cauldron was the kill switch for Prithian.
Right.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Honestly, ACOTAR is my least favorite.
It is mine too in that series.
Probably all the series, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. The one where Manon is introduced is pretty slow in Throne of Glass.
Yeah.
But overall, ACOTAR, I just finished listening to it for maybe just the second time. And that's like last third is a lot. It takes so long to get through.
Yeah. I still gave this book 5 stars.
Sorry, Mindy, what was your other one?
Well, I will add that I do have my favorite revelation, just because it was so funny, was that Jessica had Ethan packing all that shit up just to be sent to Bryce to take over. That was like, oh, okay.
Jessica has never had to lift a finger.
She's
for the
hysterical.
Record. She's like, you owe me something. Pack this shit. Well, my biggest revolution is that there is an afterlife after all. I really love that. Danica and the pack being in Bryce's vision when she dies, like literally made me tear up.
Me too.
Then Lebanon was there. Lehaba was there. And the fact that she'll get to see them all again, as well as Jezebel, it was just a really nice ending to that part of, because like Sarah J. Maas really makes you believe that once that second light is gone, like those people are gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I just liked that little ad. It was very quick.
I cried.
I was like,
I definitely cried.
I'm like, they're in heaven.
Yeah.
What about your favorite spicy scene? There wasn't really like spice.
The spice was just okay, what little there was, but what really turned me on was Lydia turning Mordok and the Dreadwolves and the Asterian Guard into ash with just her thoughts.
Yeah, that was
a big turn on.
That was pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. I just picked a favorite scene, which is what you talked about earlier, the hug with Ember and Nesta.
Yeah,
just because she's...
I loved it and I hated it at the same time.
Right, because her mom, Nesta's mom, was the worst and did not show affection to her kids at all.
Yeah.
And
it's probably a lot of the reason that Nesta is the way she is.
Yeah, it also, that whole scene plus the bonus chapter with Ember, all those interactions, it made me wonder if the next ACOTAR book isn't still gonna focus on Nesta.
I know.
Because I know a lot of people are like, well, it's Azrael's turn or Elaine's turn. It's like, not necessarily.
Nesta's story is nowhere near over.
No.
And it'll be focused on Elaine, but I think that Nesta will be a heavy side character.
I wonder if it'll be, we'll start to learn more about Elaine, but like it's going to have heavily involved Nesta as part of her journey as well.
Yeah.
As she'll be a very big part of Elaine's journey.
Yeah.
Well, she is the only one that Elaine really talks to.
Yeah.
We didn't really see much of Elaine in Court of Silver Flames.
Is she boring?
And we didn't see her at all or even hear about her in these ACOTAR crossover moments,
Yeah.
brief as they might have been.
She was gardening and baking.
Maybe. Who knows? She would. I mean, they could have put her in the prison. I don't even.
She was
There's no
saying
telling where
weird
Aelin
shit
is.
was what she was doing.
Do the worms thing.
I can't remember what the worms thing is. Like, will I hear the earthworms crawling through the dirt? Or like whatever.
I like how you make her sound like she's 90.
I just keep thinking of that Julia Louis-Dreyfus meme from Veep. Like, the fuck? Oh man,
Whitney, I want to know who your chapter MVP is.
Well, my chapter MVP is Bryce and Lidia. I couldn't choose between them, but I thought you have to pick Bryce for destroying the Asteri, and you have to pick Lidia, like you were talking about with Mordok.
Funny, I didn't pick either.
And that the Asteri guard, Lidia destroys the leadership directly under the Asteri, right? Yeah. And they both rallied their powers and they got shit done. And I really leveled up Lidia with the antidote. And I hope that we get to see more of her in the upcoming Crescent City books.
Is the reason that you love me so much is because I'm a misunderstood bitch?
That's exactly it.
Am I your real life Nesta / Lidia?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, really?
Mindy, who is your MVP?
I agree with you on all of that, but also like I expected that. Mm-hmm. So I chose Jessica because ultimately she's the one who helped everyone live with their decision to eliminate the Asteri.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, like she's the one that sort of wrapped everything up and said, all right, everything you've done, now go do some good. Yeah.
Thank you for your willingness to be sacrificed, but go live.
Yes.
Live, Manon.
Live, Bryce.
So yeah, she was
that moment.
She was my MVP.
Nice. What about you, Deb?
So my chapter MVP was actually Danica.
Nice.
And it is for a lot of reasons. So let me go through. So Danica she is in the book for 5 minutes, literally.
Yeah.
But she is the catalyst for almost everything major that happens in these books. So I wanted to go through that really quickly. So number 1, Danica uncovered an animal smuggling ring in college and released those animals with Bryce. And it's actually the first time we really see Bryce's power come into play. She tells Danica to close her eyes and wipes out some of the people that are trying to kill them, right? So then Danica stole the horn and gave Bryce the power of the horn through her tattoo, which we now know is a part of Thea's power. Danica found out about the synth and began to try to remove it from the streets, which ultimately, unfortunately, leads to her death. Danica also hid the flash drive with the trials of the synth being tested on shifters in the Through Love All Is Possible jacket for Bryce so that she could find it. One thing I really love is Danica left her penthouse to Bryce because she knew Bryce really didn't have anything. And I love that Bryce gets to live in this super spacious home. Plus it really pissed Sabine off, which I love. Danica also found out first about the first light being used to charge up the Asteri. Danica helped Bryce during her drop. Danica gives Bryce the sword she uses to cut off Micah's head, which is really fantastic. Danica also worked with Sophie and Cormac because their goal was also to bring down the Asteri, and ultimately Danica wanted Sophie and Emil to run the meat market and make it a better place. Danica also figured out that shifters are actually fae and tried to use her bloodline to confirm, tried to use Lydia's bloodline to confirm that research. Danica works with Connor to provide the second light bullet that eventually wipes out the Asteri. And then finally, she provides hope to Bryce every time she needs it the most. So it's so amazing that Sarah J. Maas wrote this amazing character that we get 5 lines out of.
Kills her off in the first
60 pages?
Yeah.
I think it was the first 60 pages because I remember reading it going wait, what the fuck?
Oh, I know. I definitely texted you and you said, what have you got me reading?
Right. She's supposed to go on a date with Connor and that was her best friend, right? Danica's her best friend. But I love how everything Danica did off page ultimately is what moves the story forward. So that's why she's my MVP. Probably my MVP of the whole series, to be honest.
That makes sense.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Danica, for a while, you kind of hate her.
Yep, you do.
Because
you're like, what?
She lied about
everything. Yes.
Well,
but
she was
really,
trying not to get killed.
Yeah.
And she still did.
Trying to get Bryce not to get killed, too.
Well, we know my favorite secondary character was Shahar. I'd love to hear what your all's is.
Mine too. I'm kidding. She was
Deb,
not.
who was your favorite secondary character?
The fire sprites.
I know,
yeah.
I love them
Oh
too.
my gosh, having a pissed off fire sprite queen come and save the day was so much fun.
Yeah.
And I absolutely adored that the sprites were watching Veiled Love in the new archives office.
Yeah.
It was the perfect throwback to the first book in the series and like really warmed my heart.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me so much of Leheba sitting on the couch watching soaps.
I know.
Yeah,
I loved it.
The reality.
It was like a full circle moment.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
That was really sweet. Well, my favorite secondary characters was a tie between your favorite characters, Mindy, Shahar, and Jezebel. So I just felt like both of them, they're the reason that Bryce was, first of all, able to save the day with Shahar's help getting Hunt to her in time. But also Jezebel is the reason that she is able to enjoy a life of freedom after saving the day, which you were talking about, Mindy.
Aren't you guys really sad we're not going to get more of Jezebel, though? She had just become like the second
Yeah.
in command
I know.
for House of Flame and Shadow. And like she was this little person moving all the pawns in the city. I'm going to miss
Yeah.
her.
Yeah,
I would
she's
like to
turned out
think-
to be one of my favorite characters in this series.
I would like to think it's possible we might see her
I know.
again, the way that SJM works.
I don't know. She
but
walked over that hill.
I
in
know.
heaven.
I'm thinking probably not. So I know that some people really don't like that kind of trope and like no one ever really dies in stories like this, but I really like it. I know people didn't love it in this particular book, especially after Feyre and Rhysand in the ACOTAR series and Aelin and Dorian and
It
Throne
did
of Glass.
feel a little
like,
redundant. I'm not going to lie.
I get that, but you know me, I love an HEA, and I like to see my heroes and heroines willing to sacrifice themselves, but not having to sacrifice themselves. Like
Right.
I like seeing them being able to enjoy the world that they saved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm okay with it.
If anyone that's listening to this is surprised that we like the trope of no one's dead, they obviously don't listen to how much we like Supernatural.
right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, that is
So true.
the epitome of
Oh,
no one's ever
absolutely.
actually dead.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's about, for these characters, the important thing for me is that they have the willingness to sacrifice themselves. Like, that's what makes them, like, the righteous or virtuous or whatever kind of
Right.
hero is the willingness. I don't need to see them actually go through with it
Right.
as a reader to get that out of their character. So
Right.
I was very happy with Jezebel in particular, but also I liked the Shahar full circle moment because
Yeah.
for me, yeah.
Sorry.
I liked it because I felt like, it's funny that you said, Deb, that you felt like Hunt had closure, because I felt like he didn't really have as much closure, because Shahar is the reason that he was scared out of his mind for like 3 straight books. You know what I mean? Like
That's true, I guess.
he never really got
But I felt
over
like-
that part of
I
it.
felt like he was kind of past it, though. He was willing to like move forward with Bryce and her plan.
Well, yeah, but he was still, I think, too like terrified. I think he would have become a completely insane person.
I do
you know what I
think
mean?
that him being terrified, though, helped him be the voice of reason sometimes. I think he had to be, because he was the only one a lot of times. I think I talked about this a couple episodes that was going, all right, we really need to think this
Now,
through.
hold up now.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but
Didn't change a thing because she still did whatever the fuck she wanted. But
yeah, but he at least
Which-
said his thoughts.
right.
What about favorite quotes?
I need to make this into a bumper sticker. Bryce Quinlan, better than expected.
I thought that was pretty funny.
And then also when Bryce signs the thing saying there's no more Fae royalty,
Oh, yeah.
she looked at the one that like called her dirt or whatever and said, "You're in the mud with the rest of us now." And I loved
That was awesome.
that.
Yeah, I like that too.
I just want to see what's going to happen to all these people that are used to just doing and having whatever they want.
Yep. When their status is taken away.
Yeah.
What was yours, Mindy?
Well, shocker. Mine are both from Jessica. The first one was when she says, "After 15,000 years, I've had my fill of Midgard." She's like, "Bye."
I'm done.
And then the sweet moment, which you don't often get from her, she says, "But what is eternal, what is made of love, that can never be destroyed."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's sort of the clincher of the whole thing, right? Like that's the theme that's been drilled into our brains for these 3 books.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because there's definitely, obviously there's romance with her, Bryce and Hunt, and with Rune and Lydia, but it really is so much about this platonic love
Yes.
with Bryce and Danica and all of this group of friends.
Well, and the love for, her love for people,
Yeah.
her, saving the human people and like people that are downtrodden.
Yeah.
Like it's all of that. It's definitely like weaves itself through these 3 books.
Well, I had 3 favorite quotes. One of them was from Jezebel in that same scene. The part where I really started crying when Jezebel says to Bryce, "We will all be here when you're ready." I'm like,
I know.
I love that. That's so sweet. And then Rune, I call this Rune's Cassian moment because it reminded me so much of Cassian's like, "I will find you in the next life" in ACOTAR with Nesta when they think they're about to die. But Rune says to Lidia, "I love you. I fell in love with you in the depths of my soul, and it's my soul that will find yours again in the next life." Which, that was really sweet. Although
he needed to say something sweet, though.
I mean, I wish he had tacked on, and also I'm sorry for shooting you. Shooting you in the leg. And then my last favorite quote was Hunt thinking about Bryce. He like, of course she went in, you know, to make sure the Asteri all get defeated, even if it means she's going to die too. And he says he wouldn't love her this much if she wasn't the sort of person who would have jumped in. Like, that's exactly who she is. Right? Yeah. Well, guys, since this is the end of the final book in this trilogy.
Although we've come to the end of the road.
Surely that means we have
Whitney's
no
like,
questions.
I'm not singing that. I know.
Surely that means we have no questions, right?
None. Not one single one.
What questions do you guys have? I only have 3.
I only have 3 also.
Oh,
they're big ones, though. Well, one of them's not so big. I still want to know what's up with Perry. There's something going on there, and they just, like, dropped that.
Yeah.
So I need to know that. And then I'm kind of wondering, like, how is this new world without the Asteri and the... Like, how's it going to be interesting? Because right now it's just, they're going to lose their light.
Yeah.
Like, which is huge. But at the same time, I'm like, so my next question is, who's going to be the big bad in this?
I personally think that it's going to be the Fae. I think it's going to turn into...
You think they're going to do like an uprising?
Not necessarily
like
even that. I think
grudge match.
I think it's going to turn into kind of like what the Walking Dead show and comics are about, where it's like you think the big bad is the zombies,
condition.
but it's about the people that are just really horrible. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if the Fae or maybe the Viper Queen is going to rise
That's
up
true.
and be
I forgot about
you know
her.
what I mean? Like, I don't know. It could be.
Well, because they did throw in there at the end, you know, that she's found her new...
She's still there.
Well, she's found her new thing to exploit.
Which was what?
The light.
First Light.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They're selling First Light on the black market because everybody knows eventually when it runs out, they're not going to be able to use their technology and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. I have a similar question. Just what's going on with Ariadne? What's going on with Therian and Sathya? What's going on with Sathya's ex-boyfriend?
What's going on with Sathya or Therian's sister?
Yes. What's going on with Sigrid? What's going on with Perry? Yeah. Like, there's all these open questions and open-ended things that Therian runs into Ariadne and is like, "Oh, hey there," and then that's the last we see of either one of them in the entire book, right? So she's definitely left it open for her to write more.
Has to be about him.
That's what I feel. It's either going to be Therian, Ethan, or both. I feel like,
right?
Or maybe they're going to continue to be side characters, and it's going to focus on Rune and Lidia. I don't know.
She's brought up Therian's sister in every book.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, she has like drilled it into our heads.
Yeah,
and really built him up as a character in this book. Although he wasn't the character I initially
that we
loved.
really wanted.
Right? Yeah.
He's not what we wanted.
Right,
but it's what we got.
So I had a lot of the same questions as you, but also it really bugged me that Bryce dismantled all of the Autumn King's work with the prisms and stuff. It seemed like he could have been onto something, and there wasn't really a reason for her to throw that away.
I thought that was weird too.
And it's like so
it was
what's gonna happen with that? Yeah, I wouldn't have dismantled that.
She's like, I don't need to know anything else about light. Well, you're getting ready to lose it, bitch.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
I just want to know when is the next fucking book,
right?
In any of these series,
right?
Yeah, what we know she's working on something because she posted about being in draft mode or something like that.
Yeah.
But like, okay, what
is
writing?
it?
When's it gonna? What's the timeline?
I feel like there could at least be this is what I'm currently writing.
Yes,
I feel like there could be this book will come out between 2025 and 2026
or something. Yeah,
like something,
or at least tell us which world it's in, or if it's a new one or something,
or does
literally
she
anything.
Hold the balls of Bloomsbury so much that she's like, I'll tell you when I'm ready.
Maybe.
I mean, she might.
It seems like
she's probably their biggest client.
I was gonna say she's their cash cow for sure.
Right? Yeah. So, and then what I'm looking
By the way,
forward-
she's not a cow. I
No,
know
she's
that
not.
sounded terrible.
I still have questions.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that's what I'm looking forward to, too, is when is the next fucking book?
Yeah. Is there going to be another one?
Yeah.
Please tell us. Lydia talked about when she took the antidote that she had doused the Autumn King's flames in the Cave of Princes.
Yes.
Did you
Oh,
guys
yeah, I
completely
caught
miss
that,
that?
too.
Because I meant
did.
to go back and read
And she
it.
said no one even noticed.
I meant to go back and read that scene. I still want to do that, but I was like, I don't even
And
know
I
what she's
do
talking
think
about.
I remember thinking, why did the flames just go out? Because it reminded me of like Holy Water and Supernatural,
Oh, yeah.
right? And then all of a sudden, like the flames went out. And I thought, well, maybe it was because both the guys died.
died, right.
Or something, but yeah.
I was confused by that because
How did she douse flames with flames?
she did. It's her power over flame.
Okay, so she just like
She
took
was,
it away.
yeah, she
Like
was
snuffed
able,
it out?
yeah, she was
Okay.
able to snuff it out. And then my last question is related to my deep dive and my favorite character, Lydia. But this is just really a question about SJM's writing choices, because finding out that Lydia is related to Aelin, when we have been told multiple times how horrible, awful, and terrible Lydia's dad is. I'm just really curious as to that writing choice, to find out that this piece of shit dad is a descendant of Aelin, who is so beloved from, her only completed series. That's just an odd choice to me. It just is.
I don't know. I don't think, your descendant's not going to speak to you. Like, it's going to things are going to get screwed up. It's like Bryce realizing that her ancestors were shitheads.
But that's different to me. Finding out that a beloved character's ancestors were crappy is just different to me, because I don't know why. It
I
just
think
is.
she's opening it up, though, because you got to think, if all Aelin's descendants are great and just like her, then there's nothing going to happen. But then you don't end up where we end up, right?
Well, I mean,
That's not good writing.
Yeah, so she's creating more story for
But
us.
mean,
also,
I guess.
I
mean,
just
that's
I
what
want to point
think.
out too that your descendants don't define you, right? Like you can also
Well, no.
break the mold from bad ascendants. Just what's the word I'm
Yes.
looking for? Not ascendants,
ancestors. But it just is. It's curious to me, because I just imagine if Aelin and Rowan had like a little view, because Aelin's a world walker, right? Like if she had a little view of like her bloodline and saw that one of her descendants treated his child like that and raised her to be so awful and unloved, and like where she never had a friend, Rune is the first friend she's ever had, just how they would feel about that. I just find it an odd choice.
I'm looking forward to. I want to see what Nesta's going to do with the Star Sword, with all this new
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
stuff that she's been given, all this new information, all these new experiences she's had. I'm very, very curious about what that's going to look like moving forward.
I hope it looks like something. That's what I'm afraid, that it's going to just be
Yeah.
like, well, we're not going to focus on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, so is the only piece of the dread trove she's missing now is the horn?
Yeah.
Who's
Nesta.
Oh, Nesta? Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty big deal.
Wait, she has the crown, right? No.
As far as we know, she does.
Right.
She
Yeah.
did at the
So-
end of Silver Flames.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, hopefully, we might see Bryce in that world, right? Because she might need the final dread trove for something Nesta might.
I would
that's true.
I would assume that there's no way to separate the horn out of Bryce unless
Right.
you killed Bryce.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be great if we have some more crossover.
I'd be cool with
That's
more
not just
crossover.
walking.
Why? Yeah. Why build up this whole universe if you're not going to cross over a lot?
I know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to reserve judgment about that until more books come
I don't
out,
want it to
but
have just been a plot device for one thing.
that's what I'm afraid
Yeah.
of.
Right.
That is really what I'm afraid of. But
Who knows?
maybe in 5 years we'll find out. Is there anything else you guys? Is there anything else you guys are looking forward to?
That's it for me.
What about you, Whitney? Anything?
I didn't have anything because I'm afraid to look
'Cause
forward
she's afraid
to
to
anything.
do
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll just see if we get another book. What about a fan cast of some of our more secondary characters that we love to love?
I had fun with this one.
I did too, actually. So we have the twins, Brennan.
Do you know what episode we did where we did the original fan cast, so if people want to hear that. I mean, it was early in this season, right, when we were doing like Crescent City 1. So it would have been episode 3.
Yes,
I believe.
It would have been
the
episode
first
3
one.
for
Right,
the
so
first one.
So
And
it should be 6. Yeah.
Yeah, so episode 6. Thank you. So if you do want to hear who we fan cast for, like Lydia and Hunt and Bryce and all of those, that's in episode 6 of this season.
Yeah, we did all the main characters in those previous episodes. And then so these are more secondary characters. So for the twins, Brennan, how do you say the other one? Actaeon. I just wrote Ace because I don't
Bran
know.
and Ace.
Who did you guys pick? I had a hard time with these two because I feel like I don't know
these were
younger
easy for
people.
me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I picked Aiden Gallagher for Bran. So when I looked up fan art, Bran is darker haired and Ace is lighter haired, which I kind of remembered them being described that way. So they're obviously fraternal twins. So, but the people I picked actually, like when I'm looking at the two pictures next to each other, they could totally be twins. So Bran, I picked Aiden Gallagher. He played, his name's Fave on Umbrella Academy. He's a younger actor.
Oh, he looks really different in his headshot.
Yeah, he looks he doesn't look, because he's grown up a little bit since Umbrella Academy. He doesn't look like a young schoolboy like he did in Umbrella Academy. But I really liked his look for Bran. He's got a little bit of an innocent look in the picture that I found, the one picture that's kind of crops up on his IMDb and everything. And then the other, for Ace, I picked Troy Sivan. And he's like, I've seen his name everywhere. And of course, I thought his name was Troye, but it's not. It's Troy.
Only when he's feeling sassy.
Oh, yeah. He's up and coming. So he's a pretty young actor. But he's just got that douchey look about him. while still like, having some boyish charm.
He could go either way.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either of those people because I am 150.
Who were yours with?
I picked what I felt like were very random actors. So for Bran, which is the darker haired one, right? Okay, I picked Matt Lintz. He was in Ms. Marvel, and I don't know what else he was been in. Maybe nothing.
I don't know him at all.
Did I maybe Google young dark haired actor? Maybe. And then I do know who this person is. Hunter Doohan, which is the best last name ever. He is in a show right now on Netflix with Bryan Cranston called Your Honor, which I don't recommend because we watched the first 10 minutes and it was like really horrifying and it gave me nightmares. But he is blonde.
So he fit your criteria.
And he plays a teenager in that show. And so I'm like,
vibes.
Yeah. So I did have to I Googled every single one of these characters because as I looked at the list, I was like, I don't know how they're described.
When I saw the list, I was like, God, Whitney. So I did have to look up fan art of each so I could be like,
that's what I did
what do
too.
they actually look
well, because
like?
I was trying to pick characters that are in the books a little. Yeah. Because there are so many characters, but some of them are only in the book for like a couple of pages. So, But who did you pick for the twins?
For Bran, I picked Austin Butler.
I almost picked him.
Yeah. And then for Ace, I picked Ben Foster, who I know him from from X-Men. He's like the angel at the beginning. I think it's like the second or third movie.
Yeah.
But he's been in a bunch of stuff. But I thought they looked enough alike, but also Ben looks a little bit more innocent than Austin.
Yeah. I almost picked Austin Butler too. That's funny. Who did you guys?
Can I ask you guys a question? Do you think Austin Butler's hot?
No.
My husband asked me this and he's like, women are swooning over him. I'm like, not women I know.
Hashtag not all women.
Hashtag don't put it in my butt. He is the epitome of he looks like he would put it in your butt without asking.
He was in this show called Switched at Birth, like
he was in that show.
He was in Switched at Birth.
He was the asshole.
Shout out to
friend.
ABC Family.
He was the asshole. What was his name? He's the one that
was it Elvis?
No. He was the rich brother's best friend. He was in the band that they were all in. Anyway,
that's crazy.
Yeah, he was douchey.
Yeah,
I believe that.
Yeah, so that's how I picture him. So I can't think he's attractive.
No.
Yeah.
Who was your ATIS, Mindy?
My ATIS, I picked Lucky Blue Smith.
I almost picked him too.
He's got the really, really light hair and he's got
those eyes.
bright blue eyes.
He's pretty.
He is pretty. I don't know. When I saw him, I was like, oh yeah.
Is he a model or an actor or what?
Both, I think.
Okay.
I think he started out modeling, and now he's started to sort of transition into some acting as well.
He looks like an ATIS for sure.
Like a picture, like I couldn't find any of him with really long hair, but if he had really long hair, I could
give him some extensions.
Yeah.
He'd be a good Lassiter in Black
Ooh,
Dagger Brotherhood.
He would be a good Lassiter.
Yeah.
Those blue eyes.
Yeah, he's just pretty.
I would be like, are those contacts?
I thought you were going to say, are those for me?
Well, he'd have to dye his hair for me.
So he can have dark hair.
I need a little more Pedro Pascal and a little less whatever is happening there.
Oh, goodness.
Who'd you pick for your ATIS, Deb?
Mine is Luke Eisner. He's an up-and-coming actor, but he has shoulder-length blonde hair.
Yeah, I've seen a few
kind of the
pictures of him.
swagger. He gets fan cast as ATIS a lot.
I thought maybe one of you guys would pick the same person I did. I always picture Jamie Campbell Bower.
I
as ATIS.
thought about him too.
That's the only person I
will
think
tell
of.
you though, the Shadowhunters movie ruined me on him because they used so much hairspray in that boy's hair.
Yeah.
When he was doing fight scenes, his hair did not move.
Yeah.
And now I cannot find him attractive at all. And I feel like ATIS is supposed to be like gorgeous.
That didn't bother me. That's just who I picture. But
He's a good person to picture.
Yeah.
I get it. But yeah, I lost my boner for him in that movie.
what about Apollyon?
Have you all seen Suicide Squad?
I think I have, but I don't remember.
Jay
think so.
Hernandez, who's also in Bad Moms.
Oh, okay.
He plays this character that has like skull-like things on his face.
Yeah,
he has like
yeah.
skull shadows, which
Yeah.
in a lot of the fan art, Apollyon has that. And yeah, I'll have to show it to you. But I thought he would be a great Apollyon because he's already played that type of character, and he's got like swagger, and you know, he could be like, Hunt, you're my demon test tube, baby.
I do think of Apollyon as being, I don't know if this is accurate because again, I don't know how these characters are described in this book, even though I've read it twice. But Apollyon to me feels older than ATIS and feels like beefier.
Yeah. And
you know?
Yeah, and Apollyon I think is supposed to have dark hair and have like darker
In the
skin.
fan art, he has light hair.
Oh, I looked at fan art too, and he had dark hair.
Interesting. I think it's well, part of it is because he can look however he wants to look.
Oh yeah, that's true. He could look like Bryce for all we know.
Yeah. So
he could look like Pedro Pascal.
he could.
I did not pick Pedro Pascal.
Who did you pick?
Jensen Ackles.
Oh,
okay.
That would actually be kind of great.
I feel like he's too pretty.
You'd be like,
though.
"You're my son."
I was gonna say when you said
Son
that
of a
a minute
demon.
ago, I thought you kind of sounded like Jensen Ackles.
So-
You're my test tube, baby.
Interesting fact. I was watching Supernatural in the craft area with Mindy last weekend, and now, you know, everything when you saw Jensen or Jared in other shows, it would be Supernatural's Jensen Ackles.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's Jensen Ackles, parenthesis, the boys.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Oh.
interesting.
We moved on. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the end of an era.
And Jared's like, I have a bit part in season 6. I'm like, oh, buddy. You just keep...
Walkers. Jared Padalecki.
Yeah.
Who did you pick for your Apollyon?
So I had trouble with this one actually, but ultimately I picture Apollyon as being very like, I could give a shit about I could not care less about anything. Like he's just bored.
I feel like that's probably
Right.
very accurate.
So I picked Cillian Murphy.
That's perfect.
Like, and especially like in the memes that are going
I
around
think
where
he
he's
is
just
so
looking
pretty.
And so he's just like, but he definitely got that sinister look, but he's also like bored as shit with whatever you're saying.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he disassociates a lot in interviews. Like he just
He's like,
stops
I'm done with
listening.
this
I'm
shit.
sorry I keep
That's
going
funny.
back to Black Dagger Brotherhood, but I can't picture him as anyone except for Havers. I've always pictured him as Havers.
Oh, I can
with
see
like a bow
that.
tie.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But see, that's the thing about Cillian Murphy is he's so versatile. I think as an
Yeah.
actor.
God, he's so pretty.
See, I don't think he's attractive at all. That's funny.
Definitely
It's the eyes.
find different actors attractive for
Yeah.
sure. Wit.
It's the eyes that are attractive or
Yes.
not attractive.
Yes.
See, I think the
Really?
opposite.
And like
Interesting.
I know he like wouldn't want to talk a lot.
You said you're Apollyon, right?
I did. Yes.
Okay,
Who was
went.
yours?
Mine was
you
Jensen
say?
Ackles.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you
Both of
did.
us are like, what?
Maybe Mindy's cocktail hit me a little bit. I did have her. I was like, this needs more rum.
Yeah, she had me add a little more rum the second time around.
What about your Safia?
I picture her as very innocent looking, right?
I do too.
And in some of the fan art, she had like light brown hair. And I picked Chloe Grace Moretz.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Because she looks
be a
like
good
she
one.
wouldn't put up with anyone's shit, but she also looks like she's been like hammered down for hundreds of years by like fey patriarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
What about you, Whit?
I picked an actress named Grace Van Dien, who I'm kind of guessing on that pronunciation. I know her as Chrissy from Stranger Things.
Oh, the cheerleader.
Chrissy,
yeah.
Wake Up. I think you just make her hair a little bit darker, but yeah, I feel like I wrote looks like old money. I feel like she could be sweet and endearing or like bitchy. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put
that's Sathya, right?
Well, I struggled with this one as well because when I looked at fan art, it wasn't anything like I was picturing her. For some reason, in the fan art, she comes across as very pale and blonde. But when I look at the description, I thought when I heard her described, I thought she was Indian. I found this young Bollywood actress. Her name's Ananya Pandey.
She's gorgeous.
She's beautiful. But she's got that innocent look, but also like, I'm going to tell you to fuck off if you piss me off. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But so, yeah, that one was hard for me because that's what I always pictured her as, like, more like a deeper dark skin with, like, really dark hair.
Her name is Indian, I think. When you did the vocabulary about her name,
Oh, was
I'm pretty sure it was.
Maybe it was.
So
Maybe that's where I got that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you're super far off.
Sathya
But,
is Cambodian, and it means compassion.
well, there you go.
Okay, then.
I felt that description, the actual description is different than the way you picture.
Yeah.
I felt like that very much with Ariadne.
Oh, really?
Because I was like, this is why I looked up the fan art.
I feel like that character as a whole was not very well described, and
Agreed.
she's supposed to be like a badass. So
Yeah.
I'm really interested in who you picked.
Yeah.
I picked Tessa Thompson from
Oh, okay. I
She
see
would be
that.
great.
from the Thor movies and also Veronica Mars.
I was gonna say,
But yeah, I know from watching Tessa Thompson in the Thor movies that she can do a very physical,
Yeah.
strong, not super endearing, but still likable.
she's also in the newer Men in Black, and she's really good in that too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah,
with also Chris Hemsworth,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I forgot about
He's
that
like,
movie.
hey, just bring my friend Tessa over here. She's fun.
She must be fun to work with. Yeah, that's my Ariadne. Who did you guys pick?
I picked a girl, and this was me Googling, like, dark-haired badass bitch actresses. Young,
And then
young.
I popped up.
and then first it said Deborah, and then I found this girl, and I guess she's French. Her name is Emeraude Tobia, and she just gives me
Oh yeah,
dragon vibes. I don't know.
I thought you were going to say she gives you something else. I was like, all right. I mean, she is beautiful.
I'd do
Tingles.
her. She's pretty hot.
So there is an actress I have always loved, and I think she is such a badass. And for some reason, I did picture Ariadne as having like being a person of color, and so I picked Rosario Dawson.
Oh,
yeah, I can see that.
She would be really good.
Because like no one's gonna fuck with her.
Yeah.
She takes charge. She's also a great actress.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. I've always pictured her like that.
Well, and she does all the I'm thinking like fight scenes and stuff.
Like
She
in
does that
Mandalorian.
in the Star Wars shows because she has her own show now too. But I can't
Yeah, what
remember.
is it called?
Ahsoka.
Yep.
That's why I was trying to keep talking while I thought about what
that out. You did
that show was called. And last but not least for this fan cast, we have Perry. Who did you guys pick for your Perry?
Who'd you pick, Deb?
I chose Emma Roberts.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Because
That's a
she
good one.
looks young and sweet, but also kind of looks like she would like steal your wallet. Because something's up with Perry.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
has to be.
There's
right?
weirdness with Perry for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, left completely open ended, just like
Right.
the Therian storyline
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It's annoying.
So hopefully we'll get more information about that in an
Which is
upcoming
why
book.
I think the upcoming book's going to focus a lot on Ethan and the wolves.
I
But
hope
you
so.
never know.
We'll see.
Here's
Time
the
will
thing:
tell.
she's been contracted for 7 more books, but like for what books?
Right.
Right.
Why can't we know that?
I know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
That would be great.
Because she likes to be mysterious.
Here's the thing, too. She might have said, I have 7 ideas, and they were like, please just sign this contract.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just like, please don't go to another
Say
publisher.
less.
Yeah, right, yeah. You have 7 books. Here's an 11-book contract.
Right.
Like, please don't leave us.
That's probably true. Mindy, who is your Perry?
When I picture Perry, because she's an Omega, so I picture her as like petite and kind of quirky and like with freckles. I don't know why. I pictured Maya Hawke as Perry.
Is that Ethan Hawke's daughter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I kind of went the exact same route, but I picked Sadie Sink, also from Stranger Things.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Sadie
same-
Sink would be really cute.
Yeah,
The
I
same
could
kind
see
of
that
thing.
too. Just really cute and quirky and just,
Well, and in Stranger...
but also like, I'm going to
Steal your
Something
wallet.
Steal your wallet.
Steal your wallet, yeah.
Well, that's what her character... When her character first got introduced in Stranger Things, I feel like she was the tough, closed off, I'm going to steal your wallet. And then as we see her character more, you see her be able to play the endearing, like, is she flirting with Flynn? Is she in love with Ethan? Like, what's going on there?
Maybe her issue is that she is in love with Ethan. Maybe they're like mates and she knows and he doesn't. And that's why she's weird.
And that's why
Maybe.
her smells
Right.
different.
He could smell the difference in her.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That would be some kind of power, though, to change your scent,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, doesn't your scent change when you mate?
When you mate.
Right. So maybe she knows that maybe the mating bond has snapped for her and not for him.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
If that happened, then we missed out on the
I know, right?
full power mate bond scene that we did never get from anybody in Crescent
Right.
City.
Maybe we'll get it. Maybe we'll get it with them. And when this book comes out in 85 years, we'll say we told you so.
From our graves.
I know. We'll come back and haunt all of our listeners. I told you.
They'll be like, who's this dead chick standing over my bed?
Hello, fellow nerd. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to make sure we talked about?
Well, I have a few things I want to say to the author.
Number one, how dare you?
No, it's my only one I have, because we've talked about the other stuff, is Therion, where the hell you going, Loki? Like, where did he and Ariadne go?
I mean,
what's happening?
Sigrid
weird.
just fell right off the face of the page.
She just sucked everyone's face off, and then she's like, I'm over
and
here.
said, peace out.
Sophia fell
Right.
off the page.
She's like, I'm going to go
Sarian fell
help
off
that
the
guy.
page.
Yeah. Ethan's like Wolfpack. They're coming back slowly, but he's like, are they here to just gather their shit?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why we read this book and then some people were super surprised when Sarah J. Maas was like, I'm going to write another Crescent City book. I'm like, well, now that I think about it, yeah,
please do.
You set yourself up very much to write another
Yes,
Crescent City
right.
book, and I hope that you do. And tell me more about all of these characters that just disappeared.
What's interesting, though, and I kind of went through this in my questions, nothing feels urgent, though. Like, it's all like, what the fuck happened to you?
That's
like,
how
why?
I felt at the end of Silver Flames, because do you remember when we did season 1 and we talked about ACOTAR, I was like, who's the big bad? And you told me, and I still can't remember. Like, everything got wrapped
at
up.
the end of Silver Flames?
Yeah, everything got wrapped up almost too tightly, but with too many loose ends for it to
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, the big hole is going to be the lack of first light. But otherwise, that's the only urgent problem. Everything else doesn't feel urgent. It doesn't feel like,
And
oh my
honestly-
God, but like, I want to know. Like, it's urgent for me as a reader because I'm pissed off that I don't know the answer. But as far as like a situational thing, none of it feels.
Yeah.
It feels
I
like,
don't know.
so, she was originally only contracted for 3 books for this.
Right.
So it feels like she was wrapping it up, just in case.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
Because all the
might be
things
true.
that are still like, I don't know what's going, aren't going to change how we feel about this book.
They're not
probably.
cliffhangers where we're like, you have to answer that question.
Right.
To make the rest of the books good.
But if we don't get a Therion and Ethan story, I'm going to be pretty upset.
Yeah.
But I need, so Ethan has kind of come into his own and is less whiny.
Yeah.
Therion's still got a little work to do.
Yeah.
He needs to get back to his regular swagger that we really liked.
It would be very unsatisfying if the last we see of Therion is being sad that his arranged marriage wife left him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
See her doing that, right?
I can see that being a love triangle.
I do too. So hopefully we get
Fuck
that.
Connor. I do. Isn't
Connor?
that his name? The guy that she goes after?
Oh,
It's
is
not Connor. What is
No,
it?
it starts with C though.
Maybe Colin.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Something.
The C guy.
Something.
Maybe they'll have
Maybe there will be
A
some sword
polyamorous.
crossing.
I thought you meant Connor like Ethan's brother, and I was
I did
like,
too, and I was like,
You're like, Deborah, too soon.
I was like, that was a hot take.
That was rude.
Well, this is our season 4 finale. We will be
believe it.
starting season 5 on August 20th. So we'll have a few weeks off. Be on the lookout on our Instagram at Our Nerdiest Thing for maybe some Nerdy Rewind episodes, maybe some author interviews. Maybe we'll have a bonus episode about manacles.
Here's the bonus from Mindy. I hated it.
Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you in season 5.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Like what you heard in this episode? Follow Our Nerdiest Thing on Instagram at instagram.com/Our Nerdiest Thing or Facebook at facebook.com/Our Nerdiest Thing. We love hearing from fellow nerds. Email us at ournerdiestthing@gmail.com.